This next, girl, take out your notes. Take it, because we're gonna need you to help the people with this next one.
Lordy. Oh my God.
All right, here we go.
What we got?
Target CEO Brian Cornell has stepped down as the company struggles with poor sales numbers. Now, as you can see here, it is by no coincidence, I've got big PBS news article up here. Okay, big WTTW. That's on Elmo. Okay. Yeah, we are. Look, they've got the little banner here. We're not going anywhere. Donate now, please. Yes. Yeah, the CEO has been in hot water since the onset of a lot of the boycotts. They removed DEI. It's been up and stuck since then. And then just the quality of the stores. There's just a lot of reports that like the stores are not well maintained and disorganized. And so according to literally this must have been just like on a news wire, because a lot of it is just word for word the same copy edit. So basically, per all of these reports, he has stepped down. And on the first look, we're like, okay, great. We've got a win. Maybe we're going to get a new CEO. They're going to come in. They're going to actually take us seriously. We can start turning the tide on whatever is going on with that company. You're shaking your head. Do you have some notes that you would like to share with the people?
I have a few notes.
Okay.
Target is playing dirty games in our face because they're just moving him to, in my assessment, a more powerful position. He will become an executive chair effective February 1st, 2026. So he's going to move to the board of directors as an executive chair.
What does that mean, friend?
That means that gives him more, I would say that's more power than the CEO. These are the people who hire and fire the CEOs of companies. My coming from like a nonprofit background, I realized Target is a for-profit company, publicly traded. But however, the board is who is like the puppeteers, right? And so while the CEOs run the day-to-day operations of the business, the board is the ones that will finalize like these bigger decisions if the CEO has them. So yeah. So this means nothing. Him moving aside is just to play in our face. It's just a visual. That's all that it is. And it's like Pastor Jamal Bryant was on CNN last night. He was going off. He keeps his foot on their neck. He said, "You not finna play with me and my people." Okay. Yeah. So no.
He's just basically so they're putting in the media and they're gonna make it this big story, this big spin, like, okay, fall back, y'all. We heard y'all. We moving him out the way. They're kind of positioning it at first glance, if you're just reading headlines, that he has no more ties with the company. So you're saying fact check, checks notes. That is actually not the case at all. Not only is he still with the company, but he is more powerful than ever. And even if I guess it's just as far as like next steps. Maybe they can still get a CEO in there, because a lot of companies do this. Is like PR, right? So T has this amazing human resources background. A bit about me is I have like a marketing and PR background. So what they will do, like they always let the CEOs be the fall guys for optics. And so they'll move the CEO around. They'll bring a new CEO in. all these changes get announced. It makes it look like they're doing all these great things. But what we're seeing in this case is they're probably going to do that same play, but the person we wanted to have consequences for these decisions has failed upward.
Yeah.
So I think I think it's important for us to have the whole answer, and to know that this is just not a reason to necessarily just rush the stores again. Just hold out if you are participating in the boycott until they actually have implemented the changes that we're demanding that they make. Point blank, period. We want the Black vendors back in the stores. We want the divert. And I think it's also important to see, I don't think we got a chance to mention this last episode, but my understanding of DEI, I think let's just frame this, right?
Yeah.
So it's very much just giving right now with this administration, get rid of the Black people. Get rid of the Black people. Get rid of all the Black women in power. They got their positions because of their color. Not knowing in their ignorance, in their bias, that DEI addresses just so much more than diversity in race and ethnicity.
Way more.
Talk and tell people about what the full umbrella of it, not that they may not know, but let's just keep putting it in the forefront. What does DEI actually include, and why it was important to organizations to embrace this?
This was so DEI, to Tel's point. I'm sorry, I'm picking up an echo.
I don't hear it, but it's okay.
It's not just about race. As a matter of fact, when it was coming into development, they purposely was like, we're not going to make this just about race. So it immediately jumped over to gender, which is why a lot of times it is most beneficial to white women in the country. And to be fair, they are women, so that is a protected class. I understand that they have more sort of societal capital in terms of being white, but they are still women. But it's also disabled people. And it doesn't, when we say disabled, sometimes we think, oh, someone that may not be able to have use of all of their limbs, or someone that may be like have a visual like impairment. No, disabled can be a mental disability. Like they may just like process slower. But if they have it down as a disability, that would help them. We have also, and people don't maybe not know this, it also helps a lot of people with rural backgrounds, because you live in a smaller place, you have less access to things, less access to resources and opportunities. So DEI often helps those from rural areas. And I think people miss that one. And that one doesn't matter what color, what rate, like background, male, female, that doesn't matter. Just the fact that you're from a rural area with, a lower population. It covers things like mothers. Like, so say someone is, when you all have done like job applications, and it'll ask you like the TANF, it will ask, I don't know if you all, if it happens in every state, it will ask you if your parents had ever used like public assistance.
Right.
And it's like, what that got to do with the price of tea in China? And it is because they're trying to collect the numbers to say, hey, we hit this quota. And it's like, but you didn't, because how does that count? And so some of when you fill out a job application,
that's even a manipulation. That's crazy.
It's crazy, but that's what that is there to count. But when you think diversity, I really need you to be diverse in your thought process when you hear diversity, equity, and inclusion. right?
Yeah.
The inclusion piece is to include those. We have a lot of neurodivergent people that is a part of our society now. Like, we still have not found out why autism is so high. Or maybe it's just because we test now, but now they are a part of our society and they need to work as well. So it's the disabilities that you can see with your eyes. It's the disabilities you cannot see with your eyes. It is those that can be from, like, a newly immigrated family, right? That could be diversity, equity, and inclusion. It can be that of someone that, they are first college student in their family. That could be diverse. Like, there's so many different reasons for
It's
someone to be
not
included in
just
that.
about race.
It's
And
not just about race.
in addition to that, I always like I like the part of it where it's just like, overall, your organization benefits from
Yeah,
diversity
they
of
do far
thought.
better.
Diversity of thought helps you to problem solve. It helps you to drive innovation. It helps you to think outside of the box. It helps you to think about all of your audiences and your different community members,
Blind
because
spots.
you don't know if your board and your
Yeah,
company is just all monolithic. Then it's just like, how can you be representative of this very non-monolithic place that we live
absolutely.
in? And so it just
100%.
is so beneficial to have that. And by
Mhm.
them eradicating that, you're doing a disservice to yourself. You really think that you're showing us
They're not.
something, right? And then you do stuff like this, and then your numbers drop, and then you end up having to go out
Yeah.
of business. Oh.
And that's the thing. That's also the interesting part, because their numbers are way down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Something that's just because of the boycott. So the numbers that they're down is even more than the trend because of this current administration and tariffs. It's further down than that.
Yeah, it's more than 8%. The
Yeah.
stock price is down more than 8%, as of what date did this come out? August 20th, 2025.
So that tells me that they are waiting for some sort of subsidy, some sort of tax situation on the back end from this administration. That's what this tells me. I really believe this is virtue signaling to the powers that be, the
Mm-hmm.
oligarchs, and because they're looking for this money, that the money that the farmers were supposed to get is probably going to end up in Target's pocket.
Wow.
That's just my speculation,
Wow.
but that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking there's something to be gained on the back end, because who would lose this much money without a guarantee of
Yeah.
something? And Ulta is leaving too. And they just got in Target like 2 years ago. Right? One about about 2-3
They
years ago.
haven't even done their full rollout of all the stores that they were
They were
going to
gonna
be
be,
implemented in. Yeah.
yeah, they're leaving. They said, not me, girl.
Not on my watch. Not on my
Not
watch.
me.
Not messing
Won't
with
get
my
me caught
pocket
up
like
in this. We got to go.
that. It's a
We
mess.
saw what Fenty sell for. We out.
But take notes, you guys. Just really pay attention, and dig a little bit deeper
Yeah.
behind the headlines, because these companies are playing games at a level you would not believe, and they don't expect people to call it out. So every time we get a chance, we gonna call it out.